joining us live. Ashley, how you doing?
Hey Matthew, great. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, it's a good Friday here. You know, we see so many great things happening in this country. There are some negative things happening by some of the woke mind virus type people, but we're hoping that even they see the light, hopefully someday. But let's talk about the East Room the other day when President Trump signed that executive order, no men in women's sports. We're seeing that with that celebration. I want to get your thoughts on that, and I have a question outside of that as well.
Yes, well, it was an amazing scene. Of course, the momentum of the party is going in favor of those in that executive order. But of course, we saw Senate Democrats and House Democrats vote against this in Congress with this bill that was trying to get passed through by Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, of course. So, of course, an amazing scene by the president. And as Paula said, it's kind of incredible that you had to have a president come to the White House in the East Room and sit down to sign an executive order talking about keeping men out of women's sports and talking about the distinction between the sexes, essentially.
Can you talk to us a little bit about when you were in college? Did you have any friends that were like, you know, they were brought up in a maybe conservative type household, faith-filled type house, but then they said, you know what, I'm going to start going way left, way woke, way into even transgender support? Or did you meet any friends that did that? And can you tell us why you think they did that?
Well, absolutely. I actually lost some teammates that were friends due to this and taking a political stance on this issue. And, my question to them was, what's going to happen when somebody comes and takes your spot on your team? What comes when it's in your backyard, essentially? And they didn't, of course, like that question, but they didn't have an answer, Matthew, a lot of the time. And it's really sad to see. Of course, a lot of what was happening in the last few years was the momentous, celebration of the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and so many women fought to have that passed and give opportunities to women's sports and women in general over the last century in the United States. And to see somebody go against that and promote this allegation of it's fair to have men in women's sports because they assume that they are now a woman. It's kind of a narcissistic thought in my mind, in a lot of ways, for a man to be able to decide suddenly, oh, I'm going to become a woman, when there's been thousands of years of course, precedent where that's not been the case.
In college or maybe even in high school, were there any professors or teachers that really spoke openly about all like DEI and all these woke policies? Did you hear any of that personally?
DEI was not so much, more so with, of course, who are they allowing into colleges, more so, and the executive, actions that were taking place in the Supreme Court that were passed recently that, don't allow, discrimination and colleges that are federally funded. Of course, those are more, admissions things. But of course, I saw a lot of left-wing ideas, of course, in my journalism school, and I was in the political science department at my university, at University of South Carolina particularly. But I actually had a lot of fairness as well in a lot of those classrooms. I felt like I got very lucky, but we hear time and time again of, other females experiencing this issue and college students across the United States. And actually, I just saw something on X stating that the Department of Education is going to be putting in a investigation to 45 universities across the United States to talk about these DEI policies and not allowing certain ethnic groups and races into colleges. That was just released a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's breaking news right now with Ashley Brasfield here live. And also, before we let you go, Ashley, just take that 30,000-foot view right now. If there are people that are watching that are in their 20s and their 30s, and they are not really speaking out about standing for what's right, okay? We're going to go to an interview a little bit later with someone named Frances Floresca. She was a former Miss Georgia USA contestant who had to deal with someone that was trans that was going to be a part of the pageant. And she said, you know what, I had to stand up for what's right. I know you're doing the same thing, but how would you encourage people right now to say, okay, even outside of politics, this stuff's common sense. You got to get away from it. Come on, you still have to love people, right? But you gotta shift over. What would be your words of advice to people that are watching right now?
Absolutely. And I think it's very easy on college campuses where you're not paying taxes and you're in this bubble that you can get in perception that this is not fair and this might not affect me right now, but it will later on in future generations. And I think that's the perspective I have, even as a young woman. I want future girls to have the opportunities that I was given in sports and being able to go to college in that, whole sphere. But I think it is something that a lot of us are dealing with, especially women, that we have to take the stance and we're going to get bullied for it. But that's honestly part of my Christian values. I'm going to, step up and take that stance, just like my Lord and Savior did, frankly. So, it may be hard in the moment, but I think history will look fondly upon us if you step up, and you have people backing you, even if in the moment you don't feel like it.
Exactly. Be not afraid, but be courageous. That's what we see in the scriptures. It's just facts, and we're all our work in progress, going to the next level, but believing in God and doing great things in this country. Ashley Brasfield, RSBN host, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you a bit later.
Thank you, Matthew. Have a great day.
You too.